Hello, I'm Agent Ghost and welcome to the archives. I'm back and I'm excited to bring you my new budget god regen build. Now, if you're new to the channel or any of my build videos, I've done easy builds is what I referred to them in the past, and pretty much moving forward I'm just going to refer to them as budget builds. Now, I'm gonna release an optimized version as my next build moving forward in the future, so I'll update the description of this video if you want to keep an eye out and look for that. But my budget builds, I like to not have any legendaries or named weapons or items on them, so that way if you're a new returning player or anything like that, you can put this build together and have the results that you see on more of a budget. Now, without further ado, let's move on to the build breakdown. So starting things off with the specialization, I'm using the firewall specialization for access to the striker ballistic shield, and we'll go in more detail that later on in the video. But that's why I'm using the specialization. You can really use whatever specialization you want, which that goes to the disclaimer I like to use for all my build videos. Please make any changes that you see fit for anything, whether it's specialization, weapons, gear, skills, what have you. Please just use this as a starting template and adjust to your playstyle or needs. It's really up to you, and that's a big part of the fun of the game. Now, without moving on, we're going to move on to the weapons. I'm using the FAMAS assault rifle. This is one of the best, or arguably the best, non-named assault rifles in the game. And you can pause and take a look at the core attributes, but in the regular attribute, I have damage targets out of cover rolled on mine, which is the highest multiplicative attribute in the entire game. It ramps up for crazy damage when your target's out of cover. And then I have the talent Optimist rolled into mine, and what that does is weapon damage is increased by 3% for every 10% ammo missing from the magazine. So as we shoot and lose or start losing ammo from shooting in our magazine, we'll start ramping up more and more damage, which is really nice. You can also like roll killer or something that works really well if you want for your talent. There are the mods on my weapon. If you want to pause, you can copy and paste exactly what you see there. Now moving on to my secondary, I'm using the custom M870 shotgun. This is one of my favorite shotguns in the entire game. It is definitely my favorite non-named shotgun. So again, I have damage targets out of cover rolled in the attribute, as well as once again Optimist in the talents, which really has good synergy with the shotgun, because every shotgun shell you shoot out of the 5 magazine, it just starts ramping up more and more damage. And then there are the mods once again, so if you want to pause, please do so. Now for my sidearm, it really doesn't matter. I know it is the named Orbit pistol. This is my favorite pistol in the entire game, but I don't use it in any of the footage or anything, but it is my placeholder for all my videos. Now you can use whatever pistol you want, but I recommend getting any pistol you like with the talent finisher just to ramp up your damage that much more in this build. I have perfect finisher. Unfortunately, this is a Dark Zone exclusive, so you can only get a Dark Zone, name caches, and what have you is pretty much, or Dark Zone vendors. Now moving on to the gear, I'm using the Foundry Bulwark gear set to ramp up our armor regen and survivability with this build. It's a big part of it. Luckily, if you just go to Countdown and put Foundry Bulwark as the targeted loot, you can farm this armor set pretty easily. And when you have, we'll move on to the gear set bonus right now. So when you have 2 pieces of the Foundry Bulwark, you'll get plus 10% armor, which is a big part. We want to try and get as much armor as possible. We currently have 2 million, you can see in the bottom left corner of the screen. With 3 pieces of the Foundry Bulwark, you get 1% armor regen. Again, we want to stack as much armor regen we want for the survivability of this build, and plus 50% shield health, which applies to the Striker ballistic shield, which just helps our shield that much more. And then for the final 4 pieces, makeshift repairs is what the talent it gives access to. And what makeshift repair does is whenever your shield takes damage, 25% of that amount is repaired to both over 10 seconds. So you'll also get healed for 25% when your shield takes damage over 10 seconds, as well as your shield. So it adds that much more survivability throughout the entire build. So in the core attribute, I have 158,000 armor. You can get maxed out to 170,000. In the regular attribute, 4.9 1,000 armor regen I have re-rolled, and I have a plus 6% crit hit chance mod. Now moving on to the hands for the Foundry Bulwark. I have 170,000 armor re-rolled in the core attribute and 4,900 plus in the regular attribute of armor regen. Again, we're trying to stack a lot of, or as much armor regen we can without hindering our crit hit chance and crit hit damage. Now, for the Foundry Bulwark and E-Guards, I have 170,000 armor in the core attribute and plus 12% crit hit damage re-rolled in the regular attribute. For the Foundry Bulwark holster, once again, 170,000 armor in the core attribute, and I re-rolled 12% crit hit damage in the regular attribute. That's it for the Foundry Bulwark gear set. Now moving on to the backpack, I decided to use the Seska backpack because it's good for any new or any type of build. You can pretty much throw it in there, especially when you need crit hit chance because of the brand set bonus up there. Just for wearing one piece of any Seska brand set, you get plus 10% crit hit chance, so that really helps with just everything with the crit hit chance. And you want to aim for about 50% crit hit chance in total, but we'll go more over to that when we get the stats, all the stats in the final part of the breakdown. So in the core attribute, I have 170,000 armor. In the regular attribute, 4,200 armor regen, 5% crit hit chance, and a plus 12% crit hit damage mod. You can, you don't have to have armor regen in the regular attribute. I just wanted to stack more armor regen. You can go replace that for another crit hit damage or what have you, or crit hit, or replace the mod for crit hit chance if that's what you need more of. Now, moving on to the talent, I'm using the talent Adrenaline Rush, and what that does is whenever you are within 10 meters of an enemy, gain 20% bonus armor for 5 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. So if there's 3 enemies within 10 meters of you, you can get 60% bonus armor, which is key for when we go to the chest piece as well. And then the cooldown is 5 seconds, so you can theoretically keep this up as much as possible as long as you don't take damage and your bonus armor stays up. So here you can see right here it's within 10 meters. Now I have that 20% bonus armor as that blue armor, and if you stay behind your shield, then they can't get to your bonus armor, which is key for the next and final piece of the gear we're using, which I'm using the Bellstone Armory. Again, you can farm for the Seska just like the gear piece on countdown by having the targeted loot be Seska to go for the backpack, and Bellstone Armory for the chest piece. Now I'm using the Bellstone Armory for the 1% armor regen bonus it gives us for just having one equip. In the core attribute, I have 145,000 armor. In the regular attribute, I have 11% crit hit damage, 4,600 armor regen, and a 5.9% crit hit chance mod. Now again, you don't, I would go for the armor regen, but you can exchange it out for like crit hit damage or crit hit chance, whatever you need. But again, I'm going with armor regen to try and stack as much as possible. Now, this is where Adrenaline Rush really applies to the talent that I'm using to get as much damage as we can out of this build. So I'm using the talent Intimidate. When you have bonus armor, gain 1 stack each second up to a max of 9. Each stack increases weapon damage by 4% to enemies within 10 meters. All stacks are lost when you have no bonus armor. So a max of 9 of 4%. That would be 36% extra bonus damage that we have. Sorry, my brain was blanking right there. But we can have an extra 36% weapon damage just for being within 10 meters with the Adrenaline Rush applied to our weapons. And that's why I'm using Intimidate. Now, you can use Obliterate if you don't like Intimidate. Or even change out Adrenaline Rush for Bloodsucker. But this is the most synergetic combination that I like to use for this build specifically, because the FAMAS and the shotgun we're using, you pretty much want to be in close to mid-range anyway, and this works perfectly for any close to mid-range type of combat you're dealing with. So that's why I'm using the chest piece and how this all synergizes well with one another. Now moving on to the skills, then we can go over the stats and final gameplay footage. So for the skills, once again, I'm using the Striker Ballistic Shield from the Firewall specialization, and what that does is essentially it gives us increased damage per enemy that the shield, it will have this cone effect. I'll show you right now. You see this orange-ish cone effect per enemy that's in that. It's going to increase the damage output of our weapons per enemy that's in that aura or cone that our shield is projecting. So here, let me just, sorry about the noise of the shield repopping every time. Just put it in a named enemy, but we're getting increased damage not only from our bonus armor Intimidate, but per enemy, it is also increasing the damage output of our potential, which is really nice. And our shield is quite survivable, once again, because of the Foundry Bulwark final bonus of whenever we take damage, we and our shield get 25% of the health over 10 seconds. So our shield stays up for a very long time, but if it does go down, it is a well, it says 3.3, but it's closer to like 10 to 15 seconds cooldown, which does not take super long. You can just hide behind cover and wait till it gets back. Those are the mods that I have on my shield if you want to pause, and you can copy and paste if you are interested. Now moving on to the other skill. Now you can put whatever you want in this skill. It really doesn't have to be the striker drone, but I like to use the striker drone as a distraction and just, again, to squeeze out as much extra damage as we can in this build. So you just basically pop the striker drone, go behind your shield, stay behind cover, and you can use that to knock enemies out of their cover and just be a distraction on other enemies while you're focusing on one. So you can just have that much more crowd control and everything with your build. And you can see when I'm using the shotgun here, I really like to use it for like named enemies or to chunk big parts of enemies' health. Or what I like to do is shoot a full clip into the enemy with my assault rifle, wait until I reload, switch to my shotgun, and I can finish them off pretty much with the rest of the shots with the shotgun, and that's how I can take out named enemies. So that's pretty much it for the skills. Hang on, I'm going to deactivate the striker drone because that's annoying. But again, you can use whatever you want, like decoy or what have you, but that's why I'm using it. Now let's move on to the final stats, and then we can get to the gameplay footage. So for weapon damage, I have 53,000 weapon damage, 51.9% crit hit chance. You want to aim for 50% crit hit chance, so try and get close to 50% crit hit chance, and then whatever's left over, put in your crit hit damage, which I have 92% crit hit damage, 75% headshot damage, 16% health damage, and we also have damage targets out of cover rolled on our weapons. Now moving on from offensive, or from, yeah, weapon damage and everything to offensive, I have plus 10% all weapon damage bonus, 11.3% assault rifle damage bonus, 15% shotgun damage bonus, also as well as 15% submachine guns. You can use SMGs if you want, and then 15% pistol damage bonus. Now from the offensive, we've already gone over the gear and brand set bonuses, so we don't need to go over that. Let's go to the defensive tree, and then we're done. So I have 1,972,000 armor. In the bottom corner, it says 2 million because it rounds up, but that is the exact number. 58,000 armor regen a second, so it's not crazy. You can get into some much crazier numbers with your armor regen, but this, again, 58,000 is nothing to sneeze at, especially on a budget build. 334,000 max health, 100,000 health on kill, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the budget damage god regen build. So everyone, please take care, have a wonderful rest of your day / night. Thanks for watching, and bye.